Hello, and thank you for joining us for That Solo Life, the podcast for PR pros and marketers who work for themselves. People like me, I am Michelle Kane. My company is Voice Matters, and I am here as ever with my wonderful co host, Karen Swim. She keeps us all in line and motivated and thinking about things PR at Solo PR Pro. Hi, Karen. How are you today?
Hello, Michelle. And I just want to interrupt our normal little intros because, dear audience, today is Michelle Kane's birthday. So please, if you see her online, if you're listening to us live, wish our dear sweet Michelle a happy birthday. I hope it's your best trip around the sun yet. You
You're
deserve
spoken,
all
man.
of the good and all of the shenanigans. And I hope it's an exciting year, not in the creepy pandemic chills and thrills way, but in the normal, excited, good things happening way.
Isn't that the truth? Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. I know it comes and you're like, "Oh, that's here. Okay." So, we just make the best of the day. It's always awkward to
We
get off.
are
Yeah.
celebrating you today. And listeners, whenever you hear this, I promise you, those February birthday people are month-long celebration people. So it will not be too late to wish
Oh,
her a happy
never. Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah, no. Never too early, never too late. Well, I'll take all good vibes all the time. And yeah, that goes for everyone. We need all the good vibes we can handle because we've done all the work. We've been good hunkerer downers, and now it's time to have a little bit of fun in life. So I think that's kind of my reminder to myself as I start this new spin around the sun. It's like, oh, right, scheduling fun. That is what I should be doing.
Fine.
Yeah, but
We encourage you all to do that.
you
Scheduling some
do.
fun.
That's right. Why else do we work so hard except, we need to be able to treat ourselves from time to time. However, that's not the topic. That can be a topic for another day, which I think is very valid. But today we wanted to talk about, is content still queen? Just, it's been on top of mind as we all try to get our media hits. And we know that the world of media relations is just so very challenging for, a number of reasons. The ranks of journalists are thinning and publications are thinning. And I know we've discussed this a lot here on the cast, just here and there, but we wanted to kind of focus in on, just the knowledge that that's not your only avenue. You know, you have your content, your clients have things to say and useful information to share. And, that's the beauty of it. You are in control of that and you can share it in a number of ways.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate that I feel like media relations has, or I should say earned media, to be
Yeah.
super specific, has become a crutch for the
Mm.
PR industry. And it's the sexy part of PR to some degree.
Sure.
You get a client placed in Fast Company or Fortune or Wall Street Journal, and the client is enamored and they love it
Right.
because it gives them visibility, and it makes them feel like it adds to their credibility as a company or as a thought leader. And we feel really good about those hits too, particularly because we know how much work it takes to earn them.
Mhm.
However, we know that our profession is more than earned media. And for several years, so this is not new, for several years, we've known that the landscape of journalism is shifting, yet we continue to hit the gas for earned media, sometimes to the exclusion of other things. And
Mhm.
and and I get it. Michelle and I both get it. We
Oh, yeah.
understand what it's like when you're up against clients, and that's all they want. No matter how much you try to redirect their focus, that's all they want. But as a group, we must go back to our core and to the value that we really bring to organizations. And we have got to start standing our ground by educating our clients and showing them many of the other opportunities that are missing.
Yeah.
And content, your own content. I mean,
Mhm.
it in a way, and I have these conversations more and more and more where for some clients, you're kind of inching them towards that way, but you're smart. You're producing a lot of things.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
a freaking content creator. Have people coming to you wanting to appear on your platforms rather than always going out and relying on somebody else to publish you. And I'm going to say
Right.
something, and you guys don't throw tomatoes at me, but to be honest with you, in certain sectors of journalism, because of the sheer volume of requests that they receive for certain things, the stories have become super formulaic and stale.
Mm.
And I'm not bashing journalists. Please, if don't take that away from this conversation. This is my personal opinion. Even as a reader, I'm like, okay, now they're all kind of starting to sound the same. And I get it. Like if you have 1 million of the same kind of stories to cover, it's really hard after some point to differentiate those stories. So why do we want to be in that spin cycle? And
Right.
are people really reading them when you can just scan through and it's 4 ways to do this, 4 ways to do that, 4 ways to do
Mhm.
that? This here's how this person made $100,000 doing this. Here's how this person made $100,000 doing this. It's, it can start to sound all the same, and you're like,
So yeah, it's what I like to call when I break it down with clients, of pitching anything, we need to nail the so what factor because it's like, so what? And that's not to say that you will oftentimes have something to share that is similar and valid, but at the same time, it's like, okay, that's also kind of when you can work on your expectations. Okay, we can try and get this word out at this level. It's not going to have as much bang as do we have, someone whose life has been impacted by whatever it is.
yeah,
And that makes it a little interesting. What's the so what? Because that helps
yeah,
journalists. And, even getting back to the content, I mean, you own your knowledge, you own your expertise. And when you really back up and look at, well, what is your end desire is to get attention for your experience and your skill set. You want to either develop or grow a customer base. So how do you do that? Well, by sharing how competent you are and how reliable you are and how you do whatever it is you do with excellence and maybe add some compassion and empathy and heart to really make people loyal to you no matter what it is. And when you control your own narrative and whether it's, and I don't want to say just one thing, you're blogging, social, all kinds of mediums. And,
hmm
we've also talked about this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can have one chunk of content and parse it out a whole bunch of different ways. And then, you're hitting your ideal audiences that way and directly too. Not saying earned is out of the picture. You should always, if it's
yeah.
appropriate, of course you try
It
for earned. I mean,
it
why not?
definitely, yeah, it's part of the picture. But I love what you said about ownership, because I think that that's a point that we have to make to clients. If you're producing all of these things, even on behalf of earned media, you're producing bylines, you're producing these
Right.
quotes, all of that is content that you could be creating and using in a different way, not just earned media. And I
Mhm.
mean, we all know that this is beyond a blog post, but sometimes, and here's, that delicate balance that we have to walk as PR pros. We know that strategy as the heart of everything. And so I know, and I can say this because I'm sometimes guilty of this too, is that under pressure, you can slide away from the strategy. But when you really focus on that strategic plan, when you, as you're onboarding clients and you explain to them the process and explain to them why you work off of a plan, how important it is, how this plan allows you to not only be aligned with what their goals are as an organization, but it also provides the metrics that you need to track in order to track your success and hold yourself accountable to that and report on those things. The strategy is where you really start to sell this holistic plan that's
Mhm.
integrated and not just
Right.
leaning on that one lever. And the metrics are what are your proof point. That's how you show clients that what you said could happen could happen. And I think it's always important to remind clients of what audiences you're trying to reach with what channels. Sometimes a story in the New York Times doesn't reach the audience that is going to open their checkbooks to you.
Mhm.
But sometimes that New York Times article may be for a different reason. So maybe that audience is investors, or maybe it's partners. And so you have to really be clear about what channels you're using to reach their audiences, and have them really be a part of that process and sign off on that, because that's what can keep things on track. Otherwise, they just grasp, because to them PR is, it's this newspaper hit, it's,
Yeah.
being over here, it's being on this podcast, it's being on this broadcast show. And
Yeah.
so we have to do that, and documenting that stuff and checking in on it and holding ourselves accountable is one way that we can do that. But there's so many amazing, wonderful things that we can do with content. How many of us have encouraged our clients to write a book? How many
Mhm.
of us have encouraged clients to create their own branded podcast where they can invite thought leaders on? How many of
Right.
us have encouraged them to do YouTube shows? How many of us
Mhm.
have encouraged them to do customer councils? I mean, there are just so many things that they can do around thought leadership in addition to earned media.
Yeah, it's so true. And when content marketing as a became a thing, became a buzzword at the onset of that, it's basically, when you think of it, every company has the potential to be a media company to a certain extent. I mean, we think back to,
Yes.
just think of, your major corporations that even have their online newsrooms. Right? It's like, what's to say it's not just an extension of that? You
Yeah.
really have the power, and by working with savvy solo PR pros like us, you have the bandwidth, and you have someone who can carry these things out for you and really make you shine. Or, speaking to ourselves, we have these opportunities to tell our clients stories in unique ways and truly make them shine. And yeah, I mean, especially, video is so prevalent, and it doesn't always have to be a polished, perfect piece. It can just be, if you have a CEO or whoever the face of your client's company is, comfortable enough with just popping on a YouTube live every week, of just like, hey, everyone, just talking about what's going on in whatever world our world is. And I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that. And it just,
Yeah.
all of this creates layers as people consider whether they want to invest in you, do business with you. It gives you, gives you the credibility and shows your depth. It's just, there's so many reasons to do it.
I mean, how do you bake a cake? You have multiple ingredients that
Yeah.
go into this beautiful, creation. I mean, I think a PR is the same thing. There's a lot of ingredients that go into that success. And if you are only using one ingredient, then I promise you that your life is going to be much more stressful. I know this from experience. You'll be stressed out because
Yeah.
media relations, or earned media specifically, is very stressful, particularly these days. And you'll have clients that have the potential to churn faster.
Mhm.
And I said this years ago. I said large agencies lean on this lever way too hard.
Yeah.
Not that they're not smart enough to do other things. They
Right.
are. They have the brain trust, they have the talent, but they lean on this lever hard, and clients churn a lot
Mhm.
faster when that's all that you're offering them. Because so what, you got them on, CBS this morning, that was today. I They're not going to live off of that one clip
No.
even for a week. They're going to be
Right.
looking at you next week and going, okay, what's next?
Right.
And it's constant. You can never fill the bucket off
Right.
of that one tactic. And it's just, I don't know, maybe you young people, younger people are into that, but I'm really trying to reduce the stress in my life and
Yeah.
do different things. And we're creative people.
Right.
We want to do, don't you want to be an innovator? Don't you want to change the game and do something that everybody else in the world is not doing? I mean,
Right.
I'm kind of over certain things. Talk to me about funding announcements later this year, because I really wish they would bite the dust, but that's a story for another day.
Hey, I picked up a penny off the floor. I like doing that now. And, and even, if you do get the magic hit on a major morning show, again, okay, then what? should you maybe not already have a nice collection of informational videos at the ready on your YouTube channel? So, because then if I'm sitting there my morning cup of coffee and I see your segment and I'm intrigued, where do I go from there?
Yeah,
It's all the more reason to try and develop this content with your client. It's not merely just to fatten up your workload. It's purposeful because they'll see through it right away if you're just trying to fatten up your workload. But it has something that has purpose and that can really enrich that segment of what you're up to.
I
But
agree. I
yeah,
Chip is
Chip is here. Hey, Chip.
clearing our mood today. This is the perfect mood for Michelle's birthday, Chip. We adore you so much.
Oh my goodness,
He's
yes.
such unserious today. And, I think he knows us. We're kind of unserious every day. So even when we're serious, we're unserious. So,
That's right. We're dead serious about what we do,
yeah.
but never about ourselves.
And I
Which
mean, so here's another thing that I would like to share in the short time that we have together. As you are thinking about, other ways that you can use content, you have to allow yourself time to think about that. So this is where it all goes back to my favorite topic of managing your time. And
haha.
super intentional about your calendar, because if you don't allow yourself that time to think, to brainstorm,
Mm.
you're going to just fall into the rut of doing the same old thing over and over and over and over and over again. And I mean, if you don't think that earned media is hard, check out some of the recent studies on. I think Michael Smart had something, and somebody else had something. You can Google it and find it. If we find the link, we'll drop it into the show notes. But there is less attention from
Mm.
journalists these days. It's decreased. That means that you have got to be at the top of your game. And even then, you're not going to strike gold with every single pitch that goes out. I mean, so why would you want to lean on something where you're fighting? You're fighting so hard to break through a very noisy environment. Yes, earned media is beautiful as a slice of the pie, but it shouldn't be everything that you
Right.
offer. And so to think about other ways that you can add value, that does require you being able to sit with strategic plans free from distractions. You need some time to, give yourself that opportunity to just be wildly creative.
Mhm.
Brainstorm, have your own brainstorming session. You can do that all on your own. You don't necessarily have to have a group of people, but it's fun to do with a group too. If you want to, reach out to some other solos and say, hey, do you want to have a brainstorming session around, this particular topic? But you
Yeah.
can do it on your own too, but make time for that regularly. This is not like a once a year type thing. It should really be a once a week type thing at the very least.
Mhm. Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. And I think the longer we're in this business, the more we realize how necessary it is. Because I mean, sometimes I can catch myself boring myself. I'm like, oh, am I really going about this thing? Things you do annually for people. I'm like, am I really doing this the same dead way? I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, the other day we had to submit something for random acts of kindness, and yeah, I could have just sent photos, but I thought, no, I'm gonna go into Canva, make a little video.
Yeah.
It amplified the storytelling, and the nice byproduct was it amused me too.
Yes.
It's like, something that will because, if you scroll through Instagram lately, it's almost all video now. So static doesn't do, but it just makes things exciting
Yeah.
for us.
And it's so funny that you said that, because I had a moment this week where I was like, I'm so bored. And I was thinking, my God, I think I need a sun lamp, because it was gray, it was dreary, and the work was so boring. I mean, no offense to my clients, it has nothing to do with you, but I was so bored. I was literally almost falling asleep on something I was writing. I'm like, this is so boring.
February is a rough, rough month. It
Okay.
really is
Yeah, it
for
is.
for all of those reasons where, if you live in a region where you get seasons and, you're above the equator, it's like, oh dear God, another gray day.
Yeah.
And it's still cold. I
Yeah.
can't,
It's a
and so
little
yeah.
hard to motivate
Yeah,
yourself in those days. It's like I
yeah.
need sunshine. It could be
Yeah.
cold, but I just need the sun to shine somewhere.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, all kinds of factors that go
Yeah.
into making sure that you're helping your clients amplify their message and get the word out in all sorts of creative ways. So, we hope that this time with us has been valuable today. And if so, please do share this episode around. We would be really grateful for that. And until next time, thanks for joining us on That Solo Life.